Hello friends, welcome back again. And today we'll be studying about vaccines and, and vaccines in human body. And in the last video lecture, I've already discussed about the overview of immune system of human body, and where I have mentioned some of the important terms like innate immunity, the different line of defense, and also adaptive immunity, which which has different types of mechanism in the immunological process. Like in innate immunity, it is very much fast and always on, and in the adaptive immunity, which is a slow response mechanism. But today we'll learn how can our body be protected before there is any attack by the pathogens, like using of vaccines in the human body, and why there is much concern for vaccine. From the beginning to the recent generation, there is very much importance of vaccine everywhere, because as you know, there are different pathogens developing, new types of virus coming into place. So why there is much concern about the vaccine. So before beginning that, I want to start with a story where Edward Jenner, in the year 1796, who is known as the Father of Immunology, he injected a material from a virus. Okay, not the whole virus, but just a small bit of portion of the virus. Okay, suppose this is the virus, and we have different spikes here, and he have injected a portion of this spike into a small boy who was like 8 years old. Edward Jenner has injected a small portion of this virus to this boy, and later on he saw that there was an immunological response in this boy. Okay, in this boy there was an immunological response, and finally he saw that when the virus was outbreak there was an outbreak of this virus in the future. He saw that the boy got immunity from the virus. Thus, that the vaccine was developed at that time. This is when the vaccine was developed. So, how did it work? So, to understand how did it work, we need to know how the immune system defends us, give the defense from the various contagious disease. Okay. So this is a person here, and he has got different immune system in his body, like the white blood cells, antibody creator, defender, attacker. There are different immune system. Okay, there are different cells that will act as a immune system. So whenever there is a contagious disease, there is the foreign microbes. Whenever it invades us, the immune system triggers a series of responses. Like they develop macrophages, which will act as a killer cells, B cell, T cells, white blood cells, and different types of antibodies. They will attempt to identify them and remove them from our body. So there are different signs of immune response. You see that the signs of this immune response is the experiences like fever. We get fever, we get coughing, we get headache, exhaustion, weakness, sneezing, inflammation, sore throat. These are all experiences of the immune response, to which helps the body to trap and get rid of these microbes. Like these immune responses triggers our second lines of defense. As the virus already passed the first line of defense, and it has caused us fever, it has caused us ill. So in the next step, the second line of defense, that is the adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity comes into act. Okay, adaptive immunity. So what happens while the adaptive immunity comes into act? Special cells called T cells. As I have already mentioned in my overview lecture also, T cells will come into place, and T cells will activate B cells. And this B cell will produce antibodies. And these antibodies, which is Y shape. And these antibodies will kill or they will act against those antigens of those pathogens. Antigens means anything, or means any part of the pathogen is known as antigen. Okay, which is foreign body, any foreign bodies is known as antigen to the human body. Thus, they create a T cells will recruit some B cells, and this B cell will fight these microbes and also record this information in the helper T cells and also the memory T cells. Okay, they create memory of what the invaders look like. They will use the mechanism of memory T cells, and they will this memory T cells will help them to recognize it in the future. When there is infection, they will fight with them. How can they prepare beforehand? So this becomes handy only if the same pathogen invades the body again and again. We know that if there is different type of pathogen, then the memory T cells cannot work again. But despite of this different smarter response, there is still risk involved. Like the body too can get ill. Still the body can get ill. Okay, and if the body becomes ill, then it might kill the body or kill the person. So to build defense against them, body needs a much higher response, means the very active mechanism. So you also know that in the old people and the young people, they will have a very weaker immune response system. So they can't fight back too fast towards those viruses. Okay, suppose this is a virus out here, and if it comes and infect the young people and the old people, they cannot fight back too fast, as the invading pathogen might work very much faster. They can make you sick much faster than your immune system. Until the immune system gets activated, the virus already or the pathogen might already have invaded the host. So if we can prepare beforehand, so that the invaders cannot get inside, so for this purpose we need vaccines. Scientists use this principle of this body's defense mechanism in the vaccines. So scientists uses these vaccines to trigger the body's adaptive immune system. They will trigger this adaptive immune system by using small strain of their disease, or the not small strain but small particles of the disease, and without exposing to the full strain. Okay, they don't take the whole strain of the virus, they only take a small part of this strain. Suppose this part is taken, there are different tentacles like projection out in the virus. Suppose this part is taken and injected as a vaccine in the human body, and later on what happens, the adaptive immune system will become active, and later on whenever there's an outbreak of that virus, the body can adapt and they can recover from the disease, or they can protect itself from the viruses. So this resulted in many vaccines which can work uniquely. Okay, if we separate all those, it can be distinguished into many different types. Like there are attenuated vaccines out here, which are made of the pathogen itself, but they are weaker version of this pathogen itself. Okay, there are inactive vaccines in which the pathogens have already been killed and they are used as a vaccines there. And there are subunit vaccines also, which is only made from one part of the pathogen called antigen. One part of the pathogen is used and that acts as an antigen, and the ingredient that can actually trigger this antigen will actually trigger the immune response. Thus, these vaccines can prompt specific responses. Okay. So there is some problem with this live attenuated vaccine because they are living organism, and people with weaker immune system cannot have them. And inactive vaccines cannot provide long-lasting immunity also. So thus it is much better that we use this in subunit vaccines. Also there are DNA vaccines where we use only a specific part of the DNA to use as a vaccine, and people can develop these vaccines for protection from the pathogens. So as you know that the coronavirus outbreak is very much having impact in everyone's life, and there's a very much need of vaccine against this coronavirus, and I have already mentioned that why vaccines are important. So in the coming days we might be able to develop a better vaccine for this coronavirus, and our scientists also working day and night, researchers are working in the lab to develop it very fast, very soon. And I hope that this they will develop it too fast, and soon our world will be corona free. So I hope you understood it well, and this is just a big picture of the whole part of vaccines, just a general idea. So if you like the video, do subscribe to my channel and also share with your friends.